everybody, and thank you for joining me for today's ALLPLAN webinar hosted here by myself, Dave Brewster. Today's webinar is Bring the Power of 3D Modeling to Your Everyday Rebar Detailing Workflows. For those who have not met me or been associated with me over the many years, again, my name is Dave Brewster. I've been a detailer by trade for the past 25 plus years and in software for over 30 years in some shape or form. I'm the current business development manager for fabrication and detailing with ALLPLAN software. And one of the key aspects that I like about the software is it is an innovative solution, yet, however, being around for many, many years. It's something that I hold passionate, and I'm excited to show you guys about. One of the things with today's current state of the rebar detailing industry, I hear it time and time again how the industry is hurting for detailers, experienced, non-experienced, just anyone to get into the game. The industry has been as busy as it's ever been in forever. It's never been this busy. So anytime I've talked to someone, people are asking, hey, we're looking for people, we're having this, we're struggling to find people. We have more and more companies that are trying to start out rebar detailing business just to keep up with the demand. With this demand, again, it's hard to find experience. It's hard to find people to even get going with it. One of the things I like about advanced technology when it comes to software is it should really start to draw people in, rather than trying to use technology in 2D information that's 30 plus years old. Why not use something that's going to make new kids, new people in the industry do better? And then the same fact is production numbers. We feel quite confident that using a software like ourselves, you maintain a familiarity that you're used to, but you can increase productivity just with your everyday rebar detailing projects that you work on. Well, if you can increase productivity, maybe you don't need to hire 2 more people, and you don't need to hire 1 more person to cope with the amount of detailing that's required. So the industry as it stands right now, we are in, for a skilled trade, which is what we really are, we're in a little conundrum here is, we haven't got enough people to fill the needs, and which makes it tough for a company to adapt new software to fill the needs of these missing people. So one of the big things that I get asked a lot is, why 3D rebar? Why is it important to the industry and to your company? You get told a lot, never ask for 3D rebar. There's nothing in the contract says I got to do 3D rebar, therefore I really don't need to do it. I always push back and say, well, 3D rebar does a couple things. Again, retention and acquisition of talent. You're going to bring new people if they have some innovative software that's going to help them do their job. Having a 3D model is going to help a new detailer understand how a rebar gets built without really being out in the field. They'll get to understand it better. The 3D, that portion just in itself, for the industry needs this. You need to get to the stage where 3D rebar is commonplace for all those reasons. But you as a company, why is the 3D rebar important? Well, you have to remember that having 3D rebar inside of one location allows you to hold a lot more information. If you can hold more information, that means you can do more with the bar. You can manage the bar better. You can track the bar. You can do all the information. On an average, a lot of time is spent during the week for a detailer. We're not just detailers. We're project managing the bar. We're doing a lot of things. We're answering calls. If you had a solution that would allow you to track that bar, to run reports internally, to do all the information from a single source and not spread across Excel, Rebar CAD, ASA, all those different aspects, it would tend to cut that unpaid time down for a company. A detailer cannot really track that time and charge that time for the management of the bar. They get an hour per ton is usually how it's billed across. So for you as a company, it just makes more sense to get into the 3D rebar side of it. What are our key components for productivity gains inside the software? You'll see them in the actual demonstration here. The quick generation, section generation from a one source object, one being a quotations, meaning one, it could be built of many 3D objects, but when you cut the sections, it takes it from whatever you cut them through, so a single source. And you can create sections very quick and very easy. those sections are automatically updated as well. If you make changes in one, they're all linked and everything is updated at the same time. One of the other key things that in other software solutions is you have to produce cover lines in order to get your bar shaped and placed properly in the proper position, correct number of bars, et cetera, et cetera. We don't require cover lines inside of ours. 99% of the time, a cover line is not required to place and shape rebar in here. Another key thing within our software is automatic shape recognition. Shape recognition in itself, if you do not have to go to a catalog and decide which bar you need to draw and put it into the software system in a specific order, then why would you want to? Automatic shape recognition within our software, we just go ahead and tell you draw the bar the way you want. If you've drawn something that's already in our library, the ACI library that's required, or your special company library, will tell you what you've drawn. And the last one here, which we'll touch on very briefly to a certain extent, is the rebar management. We will be holding another webinar within the next couple of months to really look at the management side of the rebar, but we will be touching on it a little bit in today's webinar. All these combined in a demonstration, I hope you'll get a sense of what we're going to do and how we can get you those productivity gains and get your current users, as well as potentially maybe one or two users, using and detailing more effectively. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the presentation side, the demo side of this. At the end of the demonstrations, what we'll do is we're going to hold a live Q&A, and at any time, feel free to type in your few questions in the box, and we'll answer them at the end of the demonstration sessions. So we're going to start out here with your 3D model. Now, in this model here, in honesty, would take probably less than 5 minutes to generate. It's just a relatively simple slab, in a matter of a couple sections and pushing that information in one direction, you're going to generate this 3D model. Now, our software is built off of the 3D model. And again, 3D is a scary word to everyone, but 3D is just as simple as drawing in 2D. So with our software, like anything else, in order for you to put rebar in anything, you have to draw sections, and you have to draw plans, you have to draw elevations. You put your bar in one, put it into another, shape your bar here, place it in another view, or place it in the same view. It depends on the software you're using. So what we're doing here is we're going to go ahead and generate some views of the actual object. And you'll notice that in this next little bit, probably less than 2 minutes, we're going to generate approximately 7 views of this object. The first view created here was the plan view. Now we're going to go ahead and generate some sections. And depending on which way we point our mouse, we're going to get a section generated in that facing direction. So the first one here, we made sure we cut through a couple different aspects of the model itself. We got one cutting through a sump pit. We're going to cut another one, which is going to be essentially our main rebar. We've got another one going through an opening here in the concrete. So again, relatively quick here. We generated each section individually through that particular view. In this next portion here, I'm going to show you how you can generate one view and simply use a copy command, a CAD copy command, to copy the view and the section in order to create additional views. You can go ahead and select the section itself, select the view, and do a copy. Notice as it's being copied how the actual section view itself is regenerated to where the section cut is. These sections are all live, and this is when we're talking about automatic updating of sections. Sections are all live. So no matter what you do in one of these sections, it affects every other section, and it affects the plan view, and it affects the actual model itself. So well, I'm just going to go ahead and modify part of this model to a simple stretch command. And with the stretch command, you'll see that the model updates and then the other views. Stretch this on over, and you'll notice that in every other view where this section cut's going through, as long as that information is in that section, it's going to be automatically updated. So think about the time savings that comes from this. Generating those particular sections in a 2D view, it would probably take immensely longer than what I just did. This is, like I said, approximately 2 minutes. What I'm going to do here now is these section cuts are able to be placed in other views. So, for detailing purposes, we want to show on the section view where that section cut is. We can simply highlight the section and say, I want to see it in this particular one. And we can choose which views and sections we want those in. So these everyday mundane things to just create the drawing itself, even before we put rebar in, the time is greatly shortened just by having the information pulled from one source object. So that's what generating the views and generating the sections and having automatic section updates, that's what it all means. What I'm doing here now is I'm setting up for a couple different plan views. In the one view, you're going to see I'm going to pop in what we call an automatically generated bar list. So you can see as we are adding bars to our drawings here, that this bar list is going to automatically populate. And it will adapt and adjust according to what bars I put in. So I'm going to zoom in as best as possible here and try and, hopefully you can see it where it needs to be. That's one of the other key things about our software. Everything is interconnected. Everything is constantly updating as you're doing the model. We're going to go ahead and pop some rebar in, and one of the biggest tools we have for rebar, we have predefined ties, we have predefined information, we have stuff like that, but this freeform rebar tool is probably the best tool for putting in rebar. We call it freeform because, as I said earlier, you don't need to pick a shape. You draw the shape, let ALLPLAN tell you what shape you just drew according to the loaded catalog. Now, the catalogs can be different. It can be edited, it can be changed, it can be project specific, it can be office specific. So what we've done here is I've shaped the bar and I dial in that last leg and say, I need that last leg to be 4 inches long. And notice no cover lines. Cover is being input from the concrete outline itself, where we picked the corners of the concrete and we placed the cover according to each segment of the concrete. As I said, you'll notice that that bar, as soon as that bar was generated, it gets put into the bar list there. I'm going to dial in here on the spacing of this. We know it's a 10-inch spacing, but we know at 10-inch spacing, it's not enough. It tells us that 10-inch spacing at 40 bars, the spacing would be over 10 inches. So I just dialed and say I need 41 bars spaced across that. It tells me it's 9 and 11 and 16th on average, but it still shows in the label, the 10-inch label. So you don't need a calculator anymore. The general rule of thumb was we would get out, we take the overall length of the concrete, minus cover both sides, divide it by the space, and add 1 bar. We're doing all this in a toolbar. What I'm doing here now is I'm actually adding, from a specific point, a 2-inch development length into the concrete past the next rebar that comes across. So we're able to dial in, again, no cover lines. We use tracking lines, we use tracking snap points. We use a lot of that to generate rebar. The amount of time savings just by not having to produce cover lines is phenomenal. So what you'll notice here is we have the ability with our particular case is we can label the bars as we fly through the section. We can label them as we're going through. It's not a necessity. But again, if you're going to be populating this, maybe you want to put it on some of the bars. We're going to be showing you in a couple of plan views in a short bit how we can go through each section or each plan and start adding that information so you make sure you've got all your bars labeled. So with this, you notice I put the bars in, and in the opening, I don't need the bars. I don't need to develop a new range. I don't need to split. I don't need anything like that. I can simply use my stretch command, stretch the bars I don't need in the opening, and as I stretch it, it creates a new range. It divides that existing range into 3 different ranges, and then it now creates 2 separate bars. In the bar list, you can see the 2 separate bars. And you'll notice as I'm zooming in here, see how the bars show up in every section? It's because all those sections are linked. I don't have to redraw them in. I don't have to re-put in a range. I don't have to do that. We can choose to use all these sections on our drawings, or we can choose to use 1 or 2. In a lot of cases, you'll find with our software to generate a new section just for the purpose of creating a rebar, but you may never need to put it on a drawing, is very quick. Especially when you get into complicated areas where rebar you just can't understand. You pop in a quick section there, put in the rebar, and now you've got it detailed. So what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to put in some of my cross member bars. So one thing I'm putting in a 3-inch cover all the way around. As I said, I can go into a specific segment of that bar. You'll see that it's green, and I can change the cover for that one. I need approximately a 4-inch cover, not a 3-inch cover. Therefore, it's now sitting on top of the other bars in the other direction. And when I go to place this bar, I'm not tied to just placing this in one range. I can place this shape in 2, 3 different range sets at the same time if I choose to. What I'm going to do here is I know from the cross section I have this bar in 3 different ranges, so I'm going to put it in 3 different areas. I'm going to do the upper section, I'm going to do the section that slopes, and I'm going to do the lower section, and I'm going to modify where those bars are after placing them. So I'm going to zoom in here to the plan itself, and I'm going to pick my ranges. So my first range is going to go from there to the bottom of the slope. I know that's the bottom of the slope line just from visually being in here. Dial in the number of pieces I need. So everyone's going to be 10 spacing. Put in your 10 spacing, let it tell you how many bars there are. Click back on the number of bars, let you tell you if you have enough in there, and adjust accordingly. So you'll see I'm not shaping this thing 3 times. I'm shaped it once, and I've done 3 different placements. So after I got these all dialed in with the spacing that I want, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the section cut that shows me where my range bars are. And you'll notice that they're not horizontally where I need them to be. They're up a little high from where they are. I'm going to do a simple move command. Move the first range down. And in our case, we're going to move this range and move it from a specific location. Using tracking, I'm going to track it from there and down to there. And then this next one, where it's, again, power of our software and how it works, I'm going to use a stretch command. And I'm going to stretch. I'm only going to pick on that last bar. I'm going to do the stretch command. It knows this bar is part of a range. So I can pick that bar, and you'll notice that I get an actual range line here. I'm going to stretch it straight down. This maintains the spacing. Again, depending on how the engineer wants, it'll maintain a spacing according to a horizontal spacing. Or if you need to be vertical spacing, then we do something a little different. So, sometimes there's a method to some people's madness on why do we do this after the fact. That's why in that particular case, I maintain a 10 spacing as if I was looking down, but the bars are typically spaced further apart. Some engineers get a little bit pickier. They want the bar to bar to be a little bit different. Next tool that I'm working on here is our split bars command. Very unique tool across the industry. I've now just split a bar on an opening, and the bars have created, again, 2 separate ranges. This range, I can go in and pick bars that I want that I don't want part of this range because there is an actual beam designation that goes in here later. On the other side, I'm going to develop these 2 into a new bar mark, and the new bar mark allows me to edit them separately than the existing mark. We're not going to be putting the beam bars in this particular demonstration for the purpose of time, but just want to get you the idea that as you are modifying, 2 things are happening. It's changing ranges, and then it's changing bar marks. This next tool is kind of a unique one as well. If I needed hooks on these bars or I need to add a bar leg, I do not have to go and pick a new bar. Excuse me, I can add a segment to the bar, generate a cover from the top, and now it's added a leg. It's changed the bar in every location it needs to be. I'm going to do the same the other side. I'm going to add a leg to the bar, give it a cover from the top. I'm doing a tracking from the top of the concrete, give a cover of 3 inches, and now I have those bars that were type 2s or type 17s, depending on which company you work for. I've now turned them into general type U bars, type 17 bars. That is, in a matter of that short little time, we've it essentially detailed the bottom bars for this particular slab. We've done our CAD tools. We've used some of our unique tools to add legs to bars. Never once have I had to pick a shape from a catalog to put them in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my drawing file to the top bars. And the way our drawing files work, it's a glorified version of layers. We do work with layers in our software, but our drawing files are glorified versions of layers where we can turn off the whole or anything to do on that drawing file, no matter what layer they're on. So for this purpose, I'm going to switch over to my top bars drawing file. And I'm going to go ahead and draw it in one of my top bars. And you'll notice that the cover in the end, I didn't change on purpose. I left it as a 3-inch or 4-inch cover. I'm going to go ahead and draw this in. Use the tracking to get it in line with the edge of that. Use a 3-inch cover. And then with tool, I'm going to dial back in on that leg, go back to leg number 1 through our segment here, and change the cover back to a 3-inch cover. So lack of cover lines, use the power of the tool to put in your cover. So here are two things you're going to notice is I'm going to put in my bar mark here, but I'm not going to place this bar. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the bar with 0 placement. In theory, all I've done is I've shaped it. I haven't placed it. I haven't told it where I need it to go yet. I've only shaped it. So in ALLPLAN's mind, there's a 0 count to this bar. So here I can go ahead, I'm going to track again 2 feet past the bar that's there, put that in. Now, with our software, we give the ability to go back and place this after the fact if you want. And we're going to, once we place on our mark here, we're going to use our placement tool and we're going to tell ALLPLAN how we want these placed. Use a couple different techniques. We're going to try a filter. We can filter to get the range extent, not necessarily picking up on the number of bars. We can filter the second time. We'll do a filter, where we pull in and define the actual range area. That's the important part to me, is getting where the range starts and stops, so we don't have to keep typing it in. Then I can come in and back in and dial in the number of pieces again, then put in 10 inches. It's good enough. No, 41 pieces is what I need. Now I'm going to place that bottom bar that I've shaped. Do the same thing. This one here, I'm going to use the tool. You'll notice, it picks up on the proper, pick the range. Because of my last numbers I put in, where that is going to assume those as being your last numbers. And now I've quickly put these in as top bars. So this particular bar list here is showing bars on both the top and the bottom. I can filter how these bar lists, where they're extracting information from. And then we'll talk about drawing files. The drawing files are very specific, and that's the information on them. For the one bar list, I'm going to say, you know what, only pull out the bars that are on the bottom slab drawing file. For the other one, let's pull out the top bar. So now you got 2 different defined bar lists here, specifically pulling information from a drawing file. So anytime I add to that particular drawing file, it's going to add it to the appropriate bar list. So I need to work with these top bars here. So you'll notice I just froze or turned off the bottom bars so I can visually see the top bars better. I'm going to give these 2 bar marks, or these bars, a new bar mark number, so I'm going to edit them. I've got this sump pit, these top bars are going through, and use my trim bars command. I'm going to go ahead and trim this out, producing a 3-inch cover all the way around. You'll now notice that in my one section view, where I've got the sump pit, I've got this. Now we need some legs on this. Again, I'm going to use the add segment to the bar. I'm not going to start a new bar command. I'm not going to pick it from a list. I'm going to use the existing bars that I have. I'm going to add some bar segments here. And I know I need about a 2'3" from this location to give me a 2-foot development approximately. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Give it a 2'3" past the edge of that concrete. And now I've got 2 bars on either side that have new mark numbers. Bars is going to show me, and so on. The other thing we can do is we can add hooks to these bars. I haven't got enough development past that bottom bar to get my 2 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and add a standard hook to that bar. I'm going to right-click on the bar itself to bring up the properties of the bar, and I'm going to say add a hook. And I'm not sure which direction it's going to be, 90 or positive 90, so it adds it on. I need the hook to go the other direction, so I'm going to click on the angle, click on the hook itself, and flip it around. 2 things that it knows to do is by the size of the bar and what you pick, it automatically adds a standard hook length. You don't have to worry about picking and picking the proper standard hook length. It looks at the size of the bar as the proper one. Now, there's no way they're going to place this bar as a huge, long bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a split, but this time I'm going to do a lap on the bar, approximately 3 feet over. I'm going to add a lap location, do my split, designate it, and you'll notice now it divides that bar into 2 bars with a 3-foot lap between them. So, so here you notice it didn't do the other side because that bar was split into 2 separate ranges. So very easy, simply just going to erase that bar set from ALLPLAN. Go to the existing bars that are there. Okay. Go to existing, after I delete it here, I'm going to go to the existing bars. I'm going to pick 3 of that existing bar set. I don't have to pick them all. I'm not picking the full range. I'm going to pick 3 from that range because I know I just removed 3. I'm going to pick 3 of the upper bars. I'm going to pick 3 of the lower bars by picking a window here. And I'm going to use a copy command. I'm going to use a known location from one bar set to another bar set. Again, simple CAD techniques that everyone knows. And now I've generated that bar again over, and it's its own range. So I'm able to pick and choose from existing ranges how many bars I want, and then copy them to another to create new sets. No limitations on that. So all I'm doing here is I know I needed the hook on this particular bar, so I'm adding a hook to know that we've got enough development past that bar. And I'm not going to fully detail the top, but I'm going to use a couple more techniques here to put in some more bars. And these are just copy, regular copy and mirror commands and so on. Before I do that, let me just clean up this stretch. I'm going to stretch these bars over because I know I don't need them in the opening. Again, ALLPLAN knows if I only stretch certain bars in a particular set, it'll divide that into its own bar ranges. Now everything's cleaned up, so now here is where I'm going to use my mirror command. I'm going to mirror bars from what's existing up to the top because they're the same. And the way our system works is very unique. I'm going to mirror in this view, and if I mirror in this view up, even though it's my 2D view, it's going to mirror in every other view and in my 3D object according to inside this view that I picked. So you notice I've done that. But you notice that these bars I mirrored up are on my bottom drawing file still. So they're going to show up in my bottom layers, my bottom bar list. So all I'm doing is I'm taking these bars, I'm going to remove them from here by doing a cut, and I'm going to paste them back into the current drawing file. Now they're on my top file drawing, my drawing file top, sorry. And I'm going to do it one more with the longer segment in this section here. So I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to mirror this one up. And then to modify the range, I'm going to use something a little different. And it's going to be what we call direct object modification. So I'm going to go ahead and mirror these up. And then you're going to notice again in every other view, now it shows up in this view. I'm going to hold down my shift bar and I'm going to pick on the bar itself, and now I get this direct object modification. I'm going to stretch the end of this range to 5 inches cover from the end. And then I can dial in using direct object modification. I can dial into the number of bars I need. So the first thing I'm going to think it's approximately 28 bars. I'm going to pop that in, or excuse me, 29. That's not right. You're not sure. So go back to your direct object modification. Use the same ideology here, no calculator needed. Let's put in, change the spacing, type in 10 inches. And now, whatever it says, add 1 bar. It comes up and says, actually, it was 27 you needed, so I'm going to add 1 and put in 28 bars. Now I've got the proper number of bars I needed, and it follows the same logic as with the bottom bars replaced. Now we can continue to do your trim command, clean up the edges on both sides, add bars to the bottom. Adding rebar with other techniques, with the similar techniques, is very quick and easy. I can just copy, add hooks, trim, do whatever I need to do. But for what we, to get on to the next part of the webinar here and the demonstration here, is I'm going to be satisfied with the number of bars we have. It really probably another 5 minutes, you'd have the remainder of the bars that you would need for the top. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to change to another drawing file, and this one we're going to pop on our plan views of the objects themselves. And we go to a single view here. I'm going to generate a section. I right click on here, I go generate a section and pick the drawing files. I only want to show my top bars, or excuse me, the bottom bars in this one. As I pop it in, you notice it's going to pop in just single placements of the bars. All the bars are there, but it's only going to show me one bar for each bar set that exists. I'm going to generate another section, same section. This time it's only going to be top bars. Pop it in, again, only showing single bars in there. Now it makes it quick, easy, clean drawings for our layouts. So I mentioned before that you'll notice that, you know, we can dimension as many times, or excuse me, label as many times as you want in your views. But here, we choose to label them after. We have this tool where it's called auto. It's a reinforcement tool. It's auto. It cycles through whatever rebar you have in that particular view, and it allows you to label it. So the next few minutes here, I'm going to go ahead and label both these views. It doesn't take long. While I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about some of the other reinforcement tools that exist. You know, point out the fact that, you know, the label, I'm just using what is essentially my default right now. I'm showing the number of pieces, the bar size. I'm showing the mark number right now. That's number 8 bar, with bar mark number 2 in the spacing. You can define how you want those to look as you go. So if this one here you want to do a little different, you can change it right there on the left-hand side, and you're done. This allows you to place the dimension line, place the label, put it where you want, but it's not set in stone. We can go back and move things after. We can choose to eliminate. If we don't really need to see it in this particular view, we can go ahead. But what this auto tool does, it will make sure it cycles through every rebar in that drawing view and make sure it's labeled. At any time I could choose to stop this by hitting escape or starting another command, but we're just going to cycle through to the end and label the bars in both the viewports here. You'll notice how I was able to flip the direction of the label itself. If I need to do that, all I have to do is pick on a segment that is horizontal, and the label will flip to horizontal. The software is intelligent enough to pick up on an existing object to flip it. I don't have to type in -90, I don't have to do anything like that. Pick an object and it automatically rotates. So you can see here that one's done. And I'm going to go ahead and do an auto view. This one doesn't have as many, so it shouldn't take as long. But you notice it really didn't take me too long to label the bars in that particular view. Here again, you can choose, again, I didn't change the leader style on the end of these. You can change the leader style to an arrowhead if you want. You can choose to show a bar mark on these. You can choose to, you know, many options, and they can be set as favorites. Our software is known to save a lot of your favorites where you can pull it up without having to pick it every time. We can go ahead and do that. So as we finish off here with the labeling, again, I don't think I have too many more to get in here and label. Some of the other options here you'll see in the reinforcement tool, there is what we call a hide in view. So for some reason, if there's a rebar you don't want to see in that view, you can hide it in that view. And then what happens is it doesn't delete it, it's just not in that view anymore. And sometimes you don't need to label or you don't need it in that view. It's a very quick way of cleaning up your views for your layouts. One of the things that the text height has already been predefined here. I believe it has set about an 1/8 inch high. Each view has what we call it, or each drawing file has what we call a view scale. And that scale, according to, if you look down there in the very bottom of the line, it's a scale 1/4 inch scale. That means how my text and all my spacing right now, if I put this particular drawing on a sheet at a 1/4 inch scale, look exactly like this, where the spacing is and so on. So we have the ability to define. We don't have to do it after the fact. We can change it. We can see what it looks like. You know, this was already preset. So just one more here, and I believe got one more, possibly two. Not really sure. It'll tell me it says select view, so I am done. So now we can go ahead and clean up how these, we weren't really sure. I'm going to use the align command. I'm going to align some of these labels according to the right-hand side of labels. Align it, adjust all your labels, and then it will adjust the leaders accordingly as well. So I wanted just a little quick tool to make it look a little cleaner. So we're getting close. We've essentially set up some of these drawings to go. Reason why they're on different drawing files, we put them on what we call a view drawing file, is it makes it easier to put them on sheets of paper. So what I'm going to do is, I think what I'd like to do now is just kind of take some of the other views and bar lists and put them on separate drawing files. Right now they're kind of on drawing files where the rebar is. So I'm going to take all these section views, put them on a section drawing file view. Okay, so I'm going to cut and paste them. And if I do a Control V, it cuts them. If I do a Control Alt V, it pastes them back in the location that they were. Very quick tools inside of our software to take from one to the other. And do the same here for the bar lists. So now the bar lists are on a separate drawing file. And again, this is all about layout creation, planning ahead. We can leave them where they are, and we can simply use a lot of cutting of the windows in the layout view where we can cut them. But we go ahead and do that. So I do just want to take a quick pause here before we get into the next portion, just to kind of lay out a little quality disclaimer here. The Rebar Release Manager tool that I just started there, let me get back into it here in 1 second, is a tool that's currently in development. We are probably 2 to 3 weeks away from actually releasing this to public for the first iteration of this particular tool. And as part of the management tool, I just wanted to put that out there now so that if you see it, if I get a question for it during the question and answer, by all means, I'll take the questions and answers. But this tool is something, we have a very similar, smaller tool, but this tool that you're about to see is something that is in the final stages of being developed and will be available very, very shortly. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that little disclaimer in. Next we're going to look at is the Release Manager. The Release Manager allows us to add information to the bar. One thing to keep in mind, guys, is this is currently in development and will be ready for first use here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But the Release Manager here, what we're going to do is we're going to define a couple releases, give it some descriptions, a foundation or a bid item, and that bid item is going to be foundation. This allows us to assign bars after. Not once during the creation of the bar did you notice that I worried about any of this. This is something we can do after, because sometimes you don't know until after what bars need to go on, what releases, bid items, etc. So I'm going to set up a couple releases here, F123 and F124. You'll notice that we have some different options here. I'm going to go F123 and go ahead, and add some bars to the release. Click on this button and select the bars in the bottom bar view here. It's going to go ahead and add them here, and you'll notice we get some information here now. We get all the different bar marks, all the bar details. Click on the bar detail. I get a nice little diagram, shows me all the information about the bar, shape, legs, all the description of the bar. 17, same thing. Each one of these has a little area so I can find out exactly what that bar looks like. As well, I can highlight a bar here, scroll over to my view, and it shows me which bars are in my view. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these. Hover over, and you'll see that all the bars are selected, so I know I've got all the bottom bars. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to open up a 3D view here. It's the first time you've actually seen the 3D of the bars we've created. So as we go to here, notice all these 3D bars. Not once did I draw a 3D bar. I did all my bars in 2D, and I have this nice 3D object of all my bars. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to highlight all these again. Hover over, and you can see I now have these bars as part of that release. Let's go back to a single view here. So let's go ahead and put the top bars on their release. And select the window and put it around. Now we do have the ability to, you'll notice buttons down at the bottom, we can change the release of a bar, we can remove them from the release if we want. We can go ahead and
highlight the different bars. You'll notice here that between the two releases, we got the bar mark 8010. This bar mark is a size. I can go and highlight the bars that I want here on the left-hand side. I'm going to pick the, according to what we call our internal ID, which is a way for ALLPLAN to identify the bar. Change the prefix on the bar, put in a B for bottom. I'm going to cycle through all the bars, add a prefix. You notice there in the mark. On my top bar, I'm going to add a prefix of T. I'm going to have all the bars cycle through. B, T. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to update the labels in my model, in my ALLPLAN session. Now you see all my labels updated accordingly, as well as every location they were at. So every label would be updated, all bar lists would be updated just by applying this. So the idea of going in afterwards and just changing these bars after the fact, not worrying it as you're creating, is very time saving. One of the things you'll notice is I got kilograms. I can switch between pounds and kilograms just on the fly. It does a calculation, tell you what you're looking at. We can add a release and delete a release up top. Now you'll notice that the status of these is detailed. So we have a lot of statuses for our bar. Detailed is the only status of the bar where you can modify, add to release, delete from release, change from release, modify the bars, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these releases, we're going to export it to Soule. The Soule software is one of our exports. One of our top end exports that we do is the Soule software. We have some direct communication via both directions. Today we're going to worry about one way. I'm going to go ahead and put in a file name here. It's their XML based file that can be imported into their software to bring in all the bar information. And go ahead and send this to that file. Now you'll notice when I go back into the release manager here that that the bars are now listed. And notice all those buttons are grayed out. That means I can't do anything with that. Bars are listed. We need to do something with it. It's something that we have to worry about this after the fact. One thing I'm also going to show you here is if I go to send something to Soule on a drawing file that exists, it says you don't have any more reinforcement to send to fabrication. That's because those bars are listed. There's nothing else on this drawing file that needs to go to fabrication. So one of the things here is, well, I'm going to switch the drawing file to my top and show you if I click on the top view, which I now have bars that haven't been released to fabrication, I can send those to fabrication. So the exports are looking for on your current drawing file that any releases that need to go to fabrication. That one, yes, there was some. Well, what if we get a change? When I miss some bars, I need to bring this release back from being listed, and I need to add bars to it. So I'm going to change the status of the bar. I'm going to highlight the release up there on the top. I'm going to set the release status to detailed. And what it's going to go do is set all those bars back to a detailed state. And now you can see I've got all my buttons are non-grayed out. I can do stuff with it there. I'm going to go ahead and copy one of these bar sets up, because I need to add them. I've got a call saying I need to add another range. I missed some on the original detail. I'm going to copy these up. And in this particular view, you're going to notice the bars are going to disappear because they're not inside of that view. But if you look out here, you can see that the bars are available. They're just in the model area themselves. Now I've got these bars. I need to add them to the release. You'll notice they don't automatically get added. If I highlight all the bars here, you'll notice that they're not there. So let's go ahead and add the bars to the release. Highlight all of them again and just confirm all bars are on that release. If we've done the confirmation, close this out. I can now send this to fabrication again because the bars are not listed. It's going to allow me, because they're not listed, it's going to allow me to do that. They're in a detailed state. Go ahead and export that, overwrite the existing file, and click OK. Now those bars are back to being sent to fab. So just a very quick way of doing some of the stuff you do on the fly, we can do after the fact, where we just allow you to go ahead and detail the bar, and now you can control a lot of this afterwards. So in the next area here, just going to zoom out a bit here. is we want to, I'm just waiting for the video to catch up here a little bit, is we're going to change some of the information here. And we're going to add, actually, let's just add, I want to show you one of the things here is I want to add a quick 3D view of the model itself. You'll notice that the bars are in a placement view. That's because I need to change the setting here so I show all bars. I'm not placing it as a placing view. I actually want to show all bars. So I'm going to change the setting down here under the label, and I'm going to turn the bar placement display off. And now I'm going to place it. Now you're going to see that all the bars exist. This is a very quick way if you want to put a little 3D view with rebars onto your drawing file, you can create it there. Just some very quick views, generations. Again, one source allows all this to happen. You don't have to redraw anything. You just go ahead and use what's already existing. So now we're going to concentrate on making a couple layouts here. Do a couple layouts of the plans views to show you how quick and easily the generation of this is. On the layout, I'm going to go ahead and pick what drawing files do I need. So these are the drawing files I've created, and they're actually, oh, hang on here, they're not 111. I'm going to go 112. And I'm going to pop this in. I'm going to change the scale. I did it quarter scale, but I need a little bit bigger because I saw the window. And on each drawing file, I'm going to place a single one. I don't want them both on one. I want to do one nice and blown up, as well as a bar list. But you'll notice the text is a little bit big. When we insert the drawings, we have the ability to change what we call our font factor. And our font factor always looks, if we have it set to 1, it'll always bring it in at the size we created, an 1/8 of an inch scale. Okay, so it does the automatic calculation for you. But because I've already done this, I need to change this after the fact, and I'm going to change this back to 1. You'll notice the text changes nicely back down to the size it's supposed to be at. So nothing needs to be done. It's all done on the layout side. This isn't done from the modeling side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in my bar list drawing file. Okay. Now I know I'm going to have essentially a duplicate of this, but just different information on both. So I'm going to go to our layout area, and here's a list of all the layouts we have. I'm going to copy this layout and put it on layout number 2. Copy the names, and then I'm going to modify the names of each one so I know what's going to be on each one. Let's go ahead and make the bottom one here, or the first one the bottom mat, and then the second one the top mat. Okay. And the red is the current drawing file, so to close this out. Okay. And just to show you, if I go back in, if you hover over and you want to show, it kind of gives you a quick preview of what's on that drawing file. So now what I'm going to crop these windows. So I've already got an existing window. I'm going to go ahead and crop that out. Crop out the bar list view that I want. That's the top bars. Okay, it's the bottom one I need, so I'm going to do a crop window. Move this into its location. I've got the bottom bars of the bottom bar list. Okay. Now we have some library items that we can add to these drawing files. These library items are quick ways of holding information. I'm going to drop this in, drag and drop, and modify this to say what the plan view is. This plan view is the bottom bars. So this is the bottom bar drawings. So these are quick. This library file, you can host 1,000 different things, drag and drop them onto here. They're like, essentially in the AutoCAD world, these are blocks, but very quick access. You don't type anything in, just drag and drop and it's there. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop another little note here. All reinforcing uncoded. So he's going to drop this note in here. Very quick, very easy. If there's other things you need for this particular one, you can do lap tables, you can do a bunch of information, simple drag and drop. I'm going to go over here to my top view. Again, I'm going to fly through this quickly, just do a couple crop windows, just show you how quick we can get a similar drawing, crop that, crop the bar list, move these into the location, use a simple, I don't use the move command, I can use this grid point for these two, and those layouts are done, ready for posting. Now you notice that, as I showed you before, we have some, I need to show some section cuts. If I was pointing to a section drawing, I need to show some section cuts in these views. So I can simply highlight a section and say, I need to show this in another one. I'm going to pick these ones, put them in there. And then now they will show up on the drawing file because they are part of that particular view. Now they're a little far away. I can change my clip window to where it needs to be. And you'll notice that the actual designation of the cut window is closer to where it needs to be. It's not way out into space. And there's another way of modifying this, but this is ultimately the quickest. Oops, here I just picked the wrong spot, so I'm going to just modify this to where I need it to be. Got this little floaty window keeps getting in my way here. I can lock this floaty window down, and it would have been on my way to begin with, but this works. So you see now that these little cut section marks are inside of the drawing. Okay, so nothing needs done there. Now a very quick way is each one of these drawing files, if we're getting ready to plot these, I can highlight this or 100 of them to say I have a print profile for these. I'll call it my web one, which I've already pre-saved, and it goes through each one of those drawings. It sets a print file. It knows which printer to send it to, the modification, the zoom, all that, which is going to show you here right now. It's a Silhouette printer, the size. Am I printing to a file? Is it monochrome? Is it just a paper? You can set all the information as part of a print profile. And on the second page here, where I'll show you where the print profile designation is where you can see we have other settings. So I can very quickly highlight that in the view and go to all those views to set a print profile. And then I have the ability, if I want, to print all these in one shot. It automatically generates the file. So you don't have to open up each one. You can run this little program or just run a little plot and away it goes. So that's a quick way. So one of the things here is we have the power of 3D. We have something that's called BIM Plus, and BIM Plus is a way of getting our existing model up to the web so people can see. I've already kind of preloaded a web thing, so I'm going to launch the BIM Plus viewer from within our software. And what it's going to allow you to do is see what our model looks like on BIM Plus. Now, anyone can access this. Anyone who has web can download the free version and get into BIM Plus to see what we have. So you notice here we have different elements. I can turn off the elements or hide them. Okay, I've hidden them. But I can also, maybe I need to see the edges of concrete. I'm going to put them in what we call a invisible mode. So I can still see the concrete, but I now can see the rebar. So what we've also done here is, as we highlight the bar inside of BIM Plus, it's going to bring up a little window here, and we can bring up the information about that bar. We can see the element information, the rebar information, what release it's on, etc. Any information that comes over from the model itself is going to be visible in here. Okay, and the other things we can do is we can filter. We can set a filter according to different parts. In this case, I'm going to set the release ID filter for the bars. Now I have a filter in here that I don't need, which is a content filter. I'm going to get rid of that one, so I'm only going to filter by release ID. Okay, and you'll notice that my bars are filtered by ID. If I expand these, you'll see that I've got different colors. I can go ahead and just change the color of the one. Pick something like a purple for this. We'll do a purple. Close this out, and then I'm going to turn on the color filtering. So you can see there's my release. That's purple. That release is green. As you cycle through on the left-hand side, it's going to highlight the bars in here and show you in these little 3D preview of the bar. Okay, go through different ones on each release. And that actual ID, you don't see the full number here, that actually corresponds to inside of ALLPLAN as well. And then if I highlight the whole release ID, it highlights all the bars. So you can see the bars inside of here, all the bars that are on that current release. So again, this is free. The free version is available for you guys in the field to very quickly go through and look through that for that information. So anytime you're done or you've updated your model, we would simply go back in here, update to BIM Plus. We have options. As you update, you can do an update and track changes where you have different versions. You can update the existing model where you're not tracking changes. Many different things you can do when you upload this to BIM Plus. The power of 3D, this is another portion that people tend to get lost in their head is why not? We've made it easy to put 3D in your model. Why not take it one step further and bring in the power of the 3D in our BIM Plus? And the guys in the field, as well as paper drawings, they could have this 3D drawing. So while you're in here, we can export to different ones. People say all the time, hey, can you export this to a 2D DWG? Absolutely. Export file, pick the file, and away you go. You don't get the rebar designation, the rebar information like you do in here, but it would be exported as 2D line work. While you're in here, some of the other things we haven't really, and I did this on purpose, is I never once opened up my 3D model to show you that the bars are going in, because I want you to understanding that I didn't do anything different than what I'm used to today to get the model. So I'm going to bring up the pretty picture now. All your hard work that you did for your 3D model, I'm going to bring the little pretty picture of the 3D itself, turn off the concrete, and now you see that you've got this nice little picture here. You can zoom in, twirl around, press the friends and family, get into this little area. You can change the type of look we have and go into perspective view, which is more of a real life view. So let's go into perspective. Now you can zoom in and get right in the cage itself if you want. Get right in there, see what it looks like. And then from that, that's the power. Your details will be able to visualize and understand what they're building. This is also another key. So it does tend to help with what you're looking at.
So that's the end of our demonstration portion of the webinar here. We do have a few minutes here to get into Q&A. Just quickly, just wanted to show you how easy it is. Non-talking, producing this particular full set of drawings would be less than probably an hour to do so. I'd like to thank you all for attending. We're going to go into the live Q&A session and see what kind of questions.